Video games are typically pretty forgiving when it comes to forgetting things. There are a lot of video games, especially RPGs, that will inundate you with main quest objectives, side quest objectives, fetch quests, you name it. You can't possibly be expected to remember them all. Then, though, there are video games that absolutely do expect you to remember things, and if you don't, you get punished. Some punish you for forgetting to finish a quest, some for neglecting to help your friends, and some will even make you suffer for misremembering overly specific sequences of actions. In each case, your lack of attention span can cost you everything, so unless you want to pay the ultimate price, make sure to check this list and remember what you need to do. I'm Jess from What Culture, and here are 10 video games where forgetting cost you everything. Number 10, Exploding Gale, Baldur's Gate 3. Baldur's Gate 3 is an incredible modern RPG that exhibits just a phenomenal attention to detail, but there is a lot of detail and there's a lot for you to remember, so you can be excused for kind of forgetting something, but the game won't excuse you. In fact, it'll punish you. You're at least gonna want to pay attention to what's going on in your party, unless you feel like being exploded by the smoldering corpse of your ever-hungry mage, Gale. Gale is the Archmage of Waterdeep, who's lost most of his powers after a freak accident, which infused him with an ancient Netherese orb. Because of this, Gale has to regularly consume magical artifacts, or he turns into a magical bomb, which is capable of razing entire cities. Of course, in order to keep that bomb thing from happening, you do have to keep feeding him magical artifacts. Now, if you don't do this and Gale dies, then a magical projection will come out of his body of Gale telling you you're really gonna want to resurrect him as soon as possible. Of course, you don't have to listen to his words right away, but should you forget about the wizard for at least 3 long rests, on the 3rd day of that forgetfulness streak, Gale's body will actually explode, instantly killing your party. If you're doing an honor mode run or you don't make multiple saves, this mistake can completely erase your playthrough. Number 9, The Bridge of Doom, King's Quest II, Romancing the Stones. King's Quest II is the sequel to the title that turns Sierra Entertainment's point-and-click adventures into some of the most well-known games of their day. Like its predecessor, King's Quest II comes with an awful lot of death states. It seems like it might not because it's a point-and-click adventure game, and if you haven't had the pleasure, you wouldn't know that. But let it be known, there are game overs all over this darn thing. Silly ones, real ones you can see coming, and ones you can't. Although you might think that having to watch your character die gruesome deaths every time you fail is already kind of sufficient punishment, the game actually holds a far more horrible penalty for forgetful players, and that is a permanent soft lock. The 2 main areas in the game are separated by a rotting rope bridge, which is suspended over a giant chasm. The first time you cross the bridge, the game does warn you that crossing it again may cause it to collapse, and indeed, once you cross it 7 times, the bridge collapses. And that just means you can't get to the other half of the map, like at all. Inevitably, that means the rest of your playthrough is over. The thing is, the game expects you to backtrack between the 2 sides a lot, so if you forget to do something and cross the bridge one too many times, you will inevitably softlock yourself and make it impossible to beat the game. Games used to be way more ruthless. Number 8, The Pledge, The Sims Medieval. The Sims Medieval is the Middle Ages spin-off from the main franchise, and in my opinion, it's way better than it has any right to be. If you like The Sims and you haven't played it, check it out. Your old-timey Sims complete quests to improve the well-being of their kingdom, as well as receive rewards and personal experience. Most of these missions don't require that much thinking, but in the case of the quest Rush to Pledge, getting the best reward depends on your own memorization skills. In Rush to Pledge, your Sim attempts to join the elite Tridonian Guild, wherein they need to pass their very fraternity-like rite of passage. The core of the quest involves fulfilling demeaning tasks to serve the ego of the guild's members, but the quest also secretly takes your memory into account by giving you small, unmarked tasks. In order to receive bonus rewards at the end of the quest, consisting of the game's best legendary armor and weaponry, you need to remember not to speak about yourself in first person during the entire mission, and you have to remember the words of the guild's creed that you have to recite to become a member. You can join the guild without those side objectives, but missing out on the great gear just because you forgot a couple of things will definitely stink. Number 7, Iron Bull Betrayal, Dragon Age Inquisition. In Dragon Age Inquisition, you command an army of devout warriors. Your closest companions are also loyal to the death, but they do have a limit of how much of your nonsense they can handle. There is only so much jerk-quisitor they can be expected to handle. Some of your companions might leave you if you do really condemnable things that they're super against with their own morality, but for one character, your Canary Spy, you'll get left because of simple neglect. Like other companions, Iron Bull has a personal side quest, and here you're gonna help his band of mercenaries stop the Venatori smuggling operation. At some point, things go south, and you need to decide whether you sacrifice the crew to ensure the mission's success or abandon the objective to keep them alive. Choosing the squad's death will naturally leave the Bull bitter, and in the epilogue, he'll betray you in favor of the Canary. However, that's not the only way to get Iron Bull to betray you. I don't know why I say get. I don't know why you'd want to make that happen. But if you do, the other way of doing it without even killing off the crew is by simply neglecting to do the quest at all. Forgetting to do his mission will also cause the spy to swap sides at the end of the story. And I mean, can you blame him? A neglectful leader is just as bad as a cruel one. Number 6. Kafei's long adventure. Legend of Zelda Majora's Mask. The thing that makes Majora's Mask stand out among all the other Legend of Zelda games is the unique Groundhog Day time travel mechanic. You're stuck in a 3-day loop preceding the cataclysmic fall of the moon, and your job is to find a way to prevent the disaster. As you may imagine, the gameplay loop mostly consists of backtracking and figuring out what you need to change in order to alter the course of history. Usually this means pretty simple tweaks where you need to go back in time once or twice. However, in the case of Kafei's quest, if you do one minor thing wrong, you'll need to go all the way back to the beginning, and you'll be doing this one many times. Anju and Kafei's quest is the longest sequence of events in the entire game. It consists of 13 individual events, one of which, tailing Kafei to his hideout, requires you to do 9 very specific tasks in a very specific order, and all within the span of a day. If you forget to do all of these steps correctly, you will have to go all the way back to the beginning of that cycle. It's definitely the most infuriating thing where you get fully punished for not paying enough attention. Number 5. Oops, your daughter is a zombie. Dead Rising 2. The Dead Rising series has always been a race against the clock. The schedule in the first game was already pretty stressful as it is, but the second game has added even more nerve-wracking time frames by introducing Zombrex. Zombrex is a special anti-zombification medicine that staves off the effect of being infected by the undead. The protagonist's daughter Katie has to regularly take the drug due to being bitten by a zombie in the past, forcing her father Chuck to constantly set out to look for it once the zombie outbreak takes over Vegas. In other words, if you haven't had the pleasure or figured it out, then welcome to Dead Rising 2's most stressful mechanic. The search for Zombrex adds an additional layer of time management to the series that can be especially unforgiving for players with a bad memory. It's already pretty hard to come across Zombrex, but then you also have to remember you need to take it back to Katie to administer it, which can be pretty hard amidst, well, the zombie horde of the apocalypse. But still, you better not forget about it even if you feel like you kinda want to, because if you do, Katie will turn into a zombie and that's an instant game over. Sorry. Fighting off the undead is apparently not a good enough excuse. Number 4. No water chip? Fallout. Despite its limited graphics, the world of the original Fallout is a deeply immersive and atmospheric place. It's easy to lose yourself in, but be sure not to get too distracted because it might just lose you the game. Fallout 1's story stands out among others due to the unique mechanic that's associated with it. The reason why your vault dweller decides to leave the safe and comfy confines of the vault in this game is because the settlement inside needs water. You're tasked with retrieving a water chip to provide the vault with a steady supply of the precious resource. But until you get one, you can alternatively keep your people alive with regular deliveries of water. Just remember that you do need to do something about the issue, or it is an instant game over. Many Fallout save files have been lost to players who forgot the main reason that they were supposed to be exploring the wasteland in the first place. Because it's really easy to get invested in a side quest or a random event, the looming threat of mass dehydration kinda gets pushed aside, only to remind you of its existence when it's already too late. If you're not one for making backup saves, forgetting your main task can cost your whole playthrough. So you know what they say, save early, save often. Number 3, Lemar's Loan, Gothic 2. Gothic 2 is a cult classic RPG which does the best thing that all RPGs do, where you work your way up to hero from zero. Obviously, your road to becoming the fabled savior of the world is an uphill battle, and that's especially true if you don't remember to keep your promises. In the starting city of Corinus, it can be kinda tough to make gold early on, which is why the player can borrow some money from the local loan shark known as Lemar. The man offers a significant amount of gold, which can cover most of the expenses you'll need to make to become stronger, but he does expect you to pay the sum back with a 20% interest the next day. If you forget about the promise and either don't have enough money to pay him back or just can't properly prepare for his wrath, he will send 2 thugs after you to retrieve that money from your unconscious body. At lower levels, fighting 2 armed henchmen can be nigh on impossible, so you kinda need to remember to pay Lemar back or remember not to deal with shady types like him in the first place. Number 2, Sumo, was it? Detroit Become Human. The most iconic duo of Detroit Become Human is arguably Connor and Hank, the android and android-hating detectives hot on the trail of Motor City's deviants. The changing relationship between the two men is a pivotal point in the story. Whether Hank and Connor can see eye to eye can determine if the android revolution against their human oppressors will succeed or not. Well, it's up to their ability to see eye to eye and get over their differences, and your ability to retain basic information. Even if Connor and Hank are on good terms during the final fight for androids' freedom, the outcome of their attempt to awaken CyberLife's androids to make them join the revolution is also dependent on your own knowledge of Hank's life. As Connor is about to turn the androids deviant, his replica will appear at CyberLife's facility to stop him, forcing Hank to shoot one of them. Basically, this is a Spider-Man type situation where you're not sure which is the real Connor and the fake Connor, and to determine which one is which, you'll need to answer some basic information about Hank as Connor. These are questions like the name of his son and the name of his dog. You have to pick the correct answer yourself, and if you don't remember, Hank will shoot you, killing the original Connor and letting the fake one prevent the revolution from happening. Just in case, it's Sumo. The dog's name is Sumo. There you go. Number 1, oops, the president is dead, Cyberpunk 2077. Cyberpunk 2077's Phantom Liberty DLC begins with the quest to save the president of the new United States from a crashing airplane. The mission is the beginning of your working relationship with Songbird, so it's kind of important to get going on it as it's the driving force of the DLC. And yet, for some reason, the game allows you to fail the quest and forsake any and all ways to delve further into the DLC. Not only that, it can happen just because you forgot you started the mission. Yeah, although saving President Myers is a crucial point in Phantom Liberty's story and it's impossible to continue without it, it's possible to fail the objective by simply neglecting your promise to Songbird. A few days after the girl calls you to give you the job, if you don't commence the operation, you'll see a flaming wreck darting across the Night City skyline, and after it explodes, you'll immediately get a call from your angry employer telling you that the president is dead and she's never going to work with you again. Afterwards, the entire DLC's content, including its overpowered weaponry, implants, and not to mention a fantastic story, becomes totally inaccessible to you. So, you know, go save the president, don't wait.